Hello everybody, welcome to my channel Life is Chess. What is more important for a chess game? Attack or defense? Positional play or tactical play? Long-term thinking or short-term immediate goals? In order to find proper answer to these questions, let's go over to the United States of America in the year 1907 and watch a match between Frankmarshall white and EmanuelLasker black. Frankmarshall was a swashbuckling attacking player from United States of America. In fact, he had won a series of tournaments before this match took place, and in one such tournament he scored 2 points more than his nearest rival and won the championship. His nearest rival was in fact EmanuelLasker. And talking about Lasker, he was the world champion, the reigning world champion, and he in fact was the longest world champion in the history of chess. So let us see the game. Marshall started with e4, and it is the Spanish opening or the Ruy Lopez. Black played knight f6, both sides are developing pieces, and true to his style, Marshall lashes out with d4. The idea is, of course, attacking the center and establishing a classical center right in the start of the game. Black takes e4, and Marshall castles and brings out his rook. Lasker played the move bishop e7. Black develops his piece, and Marshall attacks right from the word go. He plays e5. Lasker plays knight e4. Of course, knight g4 is also possible, attacking the pawn, but after white defends with moves like, say, rook e1, this knight will be precariously placed. It doesn't have good squares to retreat. Notice that the square h6 is controlled by the bishop. So when the knight retreats to h6 after it's driven away, white can exchange on h6 and break the structure. For instance, if black plays castle, white plays h3, and after knight h6, white will exchange the bishop for the knight, and the king side will remain slightly weakened. So that is why Lasker opts for the move knight e4, and white captures the pawn knight d4. Now it's black to play. Knight e5 is not possible because simple move rook e1, and both the knights are lined up on the e file, attacked by the rook. Black is likely to lose one of the knights. So black decides to develop his piece. He castles. White plays knight f5. So this is a move which characterizes the style of play of Frankmarshall. He was a very dangerous attacking player, and now he is threatening queen g4, which will attack the g7 pawn checkmate, as well as the knight on e4, which is undefended. It is black to play, and black has to defend. Well, black played the move d5, a very simple move but a very effective move. The bishop on c8 attacks the attacking knight on f5, as well as defends the e4 knight. If white plays queen g4 now, it will be a mistake because black will exchange the knight for a bishop and immediately play knight d4, attacking b5 and f5 simultaneously. So we see EmanuelLasker defended by playing d5, and it is not only defense but it is counter-attack, attacking f5 knight. So white first took this knight, exchanged, and then he exchanged the knight for the bishop. Now material is equal, but we see the situation has suddenly changed. Who is attacking? Black is attacking the e5 pawn. Black has two pieces which are developed, and white has all the pieces lined on the back rank. So suddenly the table has turned. It is black who has acquired development advantage. It is white to move. White played the move rook e1. Notice, had he played f4, black would have played queen c5 check, and suddenly the queen and the knight coordinate and wins material, because white has to play king h1, after which knight f2 would win an exchange for black. Therefore, instead of f4, white played rook e1. The move f3 also meets the same fate. Black can simply play queen c5 check and once again win an exchange. So after rook e1, at this moment black cannot take queen e5 because f3 pins and wins the knight on e4. So black instead preferred the move queen h4, attacking f2. So we see EmanuelLasker initially defended the position, and now he is attacking white because he is more developed. White played the move bishop e3, develops as well as defends, and black plays another very instructive move, that is f6. Suddenly the f8 rook gets activated along the f file. So black removes the advanced e pawn and opens the f file. White plays the move f3. He wants to get rid of the knight, and it is once again black to play. I would ask all of you to pause the video and guess black's next move. EmanuelLasker, who showed his defensive qualities, now goes on to show his attacking skills. He sacrificed his piece. He took the pawn, and after white captured the knight, he played a beautiful move, that is d4, attacking the bishop. Black is one piece down. He has just sacrificed a knight, but he has seen if white plays bishop to d2 and escapes, black could play bishop g4, attacking the queen, and when white retreats, moves away, black would play rook f2, and the combination of rook, bishop, queen, and potentially this rook joining attack is deadly, and despite being one piece down, black is likely to checkmate white. For instance, if white plays bishop g5, black will sacrifice another rook, and despite being one rook and one bishop down, black will deliver a checkmate by playing bishop h3 check, king h1, queen f2 with the idea of checkmating on g1, and after the only defense, black plays queen f3 check, and after rook g2, queen g2 checkmate. So this is one example of counter-attack which EmanuelLasker had seen. After sacrificing the queen, it is white to move. White cannot retreat his bishop. The best move for white at this point was to give back the bishop and continue with a move like queen d2. After black regains the piece, white would play queen e3, and in this position, although black has a bishop for a knight, black also has a couple of weak pawns on the queen side, so white would have no reasons to complain, and this is how white should have played. Instead, white chose the move g3, attacking the queen and somehow stopping queen's control over the f2 square. Black retreats queen f6. Once again the bishop is attacked. Even now black is one knight less. White plays the move. White has to choose between what to do with the e3 bishop. He decides to give the bishop by bishop d4. Once again, he could have played bishop d2, which was this time bishop d2 was a better defense. But he had foreseen that black would have played queen f2 check. After king g1, king h1, black would have played bishop h3. After rook g1, protecting the g2 square from being checkmated. Now black had two options. One of them, bishop f1, looks very dangerous because black is threatening to attack the queen as well as land on f3. A beautiful checkmate. And in this case, white would have played bishop e1, the only defensive move. And after queen e3, knight, here knight d2, protecting the f3 square. Why black would still play bishop e2, and finally bishop f3 check would give a perpetual check for black. Black is still a piece down, but he can keep on checking perpetually, continuously, and get a draw. Lasker also had the option of continuing to play for a win with moves like h5, with the idea of bishop to g4 attacking the queen, and also landing on f3, checkmating white king. And if white played queen takes h5, black would have had a beautiful combination: queen takes g1, after king g1, rook f1, checkmate with a bishop and rook. So lots of combinations. After white retreats the bishop to d2. So this is why Frankmarshall decided to give back the bishop by playing bishop d4, and after e d4 play rook f1, neutralizing black's attack. Black exchanged queen f1, queen f1, rook f1, king f1. Frankmarshall probably thought that he can manage a draw from this position. Pawns are equal, material is equal, but it is black Lasker to play. And Lasker played rook b8, attacking the b2 pawn. White protected b3, and Lasker played a beautiful move in the endgame, and that is rook b5. With the idea of transferring the rook to the king side, basically the rook is activated along the rank. It can also land up on c5, attacking the c2 pawn. So white has three pawns which are slightly weak, a2, c2 and h2, and the rook on b5 has a potential to attack all the weak pawns. Black had initially defended in a beautiful manner, then he went for a counter attack wonderfully. He sacrificed a piece when necessary, and now when the game ends up, when the game reaches an end game, Lasker shows his end game skills as well. White, who was a brilliant attacking player, but he was not very at ease in endgame, he played the move c4, somehow strengthening the c2 pawn, which was weak. He was in fact expecting Lasker would play dc and the knight would develop with a tempo. But the best move here was knight to d2, simply developing the knight. Had black played rook c5 attacking c2, the most effective move would have been to play knight c4 and sacrificing a pawn. In fact, after bishop a6, white could centralize his king and give one pawn back, but centralize his king and achieve a fighting position very close to a draw, because the king as well as the rook is active. Instead, Marshall, who was not very well known for his endgame skills, he played the move c4, and now Lasker shifts his rook to the king side, attacking the h-pawn. White played the move king g1. The only other way to defend the h-pawn was h4, but in that case black would have attacked the h-pawn by g5, and had white taken hg5, black would have played rook h1 check. After the king moves, the knight and the rook would be paralyzed and black would have a winning position. So that was the great idea of EmanuelLasker. White saw this and white simply went king g1. Now black played the move c5. After white developed, black centralizes his king. So we notice white's king is in the corner, black is activating his king. After rook f1 check, black played king e7. Of course, he would have loved to play king e6 and king e5, but that allows counterplay. Therefore, black simply opted for king e7, and now white played a3 with the idea of counterplay on the queen side by b4, and black played another very subtle and a very effective move, that is rook to h6. The rook now reaches another rank and it shifts action to the queen side, attacking the a pawn or even b pawn if the knight is not on d2. White played the move h4 and now rook a6. White played the move rook a1, defending the a pawn, and now black played another brilliant move, bishop g4. This move basically dominates the knight. The knight cannot come to this square, as well as the bishop eyes e2 square and d1 square. Remember, the d pawn is a pass pawn. So in case the pawn needs some assistance, the bishop can be very effective on g4. White played the move king f2, centralizing. Black centralized his king. White played a4. Black centralized the king further. White played the move king g2. He didn't find many useful moves. And now black played rook f6. White played the move rook e1. White is basically passive. He somehow wants to release his knight by defending the pawn. Had he opted for rook f1, exchanging the rooks, black could play the move d3 and enter inside the white's position with his king, either on the queen side or king side, attacking the b3 pawn and helping the d pawn to progress. Therefore, white played the move rook e1. After d3, finally he went rook f1. Black entered, and we see the final phase of the game. Black is winning, but how he manages to win, it's very instructive. He plays, well, he plays for Sukswang. Sukswang means white has no good move left on the board. Whatever he plays will simply worsen his position. For instance, in this position, if white moves the king, black will enter via king e3. If white moves the knight, black may capture the e pawn. So since both the king and knight are tied down and white doesn't have any pawn move either, in this absolutely lost position, white gave up the e pawn. He played knight b1, black captured e4, and we shall see how the game ended. Well, black also captured the g pawn. He had two connected passed pawns, two passed pawns on the d and the f file. White captured c5, and white played knight e4, dislodging black's king. And finally, black played the move c5. He wants to play king e3, but if he plays king e3 at once, white can once again dislodge the king from e3 square. Therefore, he played the move c5 with the aim. Once again, white is in an absolute zugzwang position. If he plays the move king f2, black would play d2. If he plays the move king d2, black would play f2, and if he moves his knight, black would play king e3, checkmating black on f2 or d2. Therefore, white played b4, and after cb, black had another passed pawn. He simply played the game on inertia, and here he finally resigned because he can't stop the move f2 and f1 check. So friends, I think with this game you have finally got the answer of what is more important in chess. Is it important to be an attacking player only, or is it more important to be a great defensive, attacking as well as an endgame player? EmanuelLasker not only won this game, but he won the match against his rival Frankmarshall with a margin of 8-0 and deservingly remained world champion for a record period of time.